Hello students, today we'll continue the third part of the portrait of a lady. So we were at the point when the friendship was snapped between Khuswant Singh and his grandmother. As he went to universities, up to universities, after that the bond of friendship that was snapped or broken and grandmother had accepted her loneliness without any objection, with a resignation. And her passing time, that was only with spinning wheel, and for half an hour she also fed to sparrows. That was the point, and that was also the happiest half hour of the day for her. We'll continue with that. That when I decided to go abroad, that was the point we are going to start with. When I decided to go abroad, that was the point. So, the author says that when I decided to go abroad for further studies, author thought after the completion of his education there in India, after he decided to go even abroad for further studies. And I was sure my grandmother would be upset, and he was sure about that her grandmother would be upset. She would become sad. I would be away for 5 years because he was going there for 5 years of studies. And at her age, one could never tell. What? One could never tell. Because she was already so old that she could die at any moment. That was the thing that anyone could never tell, that when author would return after 5 years, she would be there or not to see her grandson. So that was the question. But my grandmother could, but grandmother could say this. It means she had a belief that she would live even after 5 years when he would come. She was not even sentimental, and when he was going, she was not even sentimental or emotional. So she didn't become emotional, and she came to leave me at railway station. She also went to see him off at railway station, but did not talk or show any emotion. And even then, she didn't show any type of emotion, or she even didn't talk. Her lips moved in a prayer, and while she went there, her lips were only moving in inaudible prayer that can't be heard from a distance. Her mind was also lost in prayer. Her fingers were busy telling the beads of her rosary, and while she was praying, her fingers were also busy in rotating, in counting or telling the beads or the wooden balls of her rosary or garland of the wooden balls. Silently she kissed my forehead, and silently she made an affection of kissing the forehead of her grandson. And when I left, I cherished the moist imprint as perhaps the last sign of physical contact between us. And as he left the place, he felt, he felt, and actually he also cherished, enjoyed, became happy by the imprint, the moisty imprint of that kiss, as perhaps the last sign of physical contact between us. And he was thinking that it might be the last physical contact between grandson and grandmother, because he was going for 5 years, and when he would return, she would not be probably there. But that was not so. That as he was thinking, that was not right. What happened? Even after 5 years, when he came back, he is telling, when I came back home and was met by her at the station. Even after 5 years, when he returned from abroad, she was at the railway station waiting for him. She did not look a day older, and even after 5 years, she was at the same stage of life as she was earlier, 20 years before. So she was not looking a day older, she was in the same stage. She still had no time for words. Even then, she didn't talk. She was once again praying to God, telling the beads of her rosary. And while she clasped me when she held him in her arms or hug him in her arms, I could hear her reciting, because from a distance that was inaudible prayer. But if you are holding her in arms, then you can listen that she was reciting her prayers at that time. Even on the first day of my arrival, her happiest moments were with her sparrows, whom she fed longer and with frivolous rebukes. And he was telling, author was telling, that even on the first day of the arrival, her happiest time was only with the sparrows, as that was usual when he also went up to university. At that time also, she was passing her time with the happiest moment of half an hour with sparrows. In the same way, on the first day of arrival, that was also the happiest, but now she fed longer, as it has been mentioned, and with frivolous. Frivolous means not serious, not serious. It means she was also giving rebukes or the scoldings. Before that, she was not using, but now not serious, only light rebukes she was using with them, only for the friendship between sparrows and grandmother. In the evening, a change came over, and in the evening, on the first day of arrival, there was a change came on her. What was the change? She did not pray, and she did not pray on that day. She collected the women of neighborhood, and instead she had collected the women of neighborhood, and also got an old drum. She had also got an old drum and started to sing. It means she was enjoying, she was celebrating the coming of grandson. Coming of grandson. She was enjoying coming of grandson. For several hours she thumped the sagging, and for a few hours she was thumping, knocking, or you can say singing on the drum. So what she was doing? She thumped sagging skins of a dilapidated drum. So she was just thumping on the sagging. Sagging means hanging skin that is of the dilapidated drum. So there was also a dilapidated means old and not repaired in a proper way. So actually she was thumping on the dilapidated ड्रम और द ओल्ड ड्रम. एक पुराना सा ड्रम है, उसके ऊपर वो थंप कर रही थी, उसको बजा रही थी. शी वॉज इंजॉइंग एंड सेंग ऑफ द होम कमिंग ऑफ वॉरियर्स, एंड शी वॉज सिंगिंग द सॉन्ग्स ऑफ होम कमिंग ऑफ वॉरियर्स और फाइटर्स. She was thinking that her grandson who had come as warriors or fighters, and she should enjoy that, she should celebrate of homecoming of her grandson. So she was enjoying that with the help of other ladies in the neighborhood. We had to persuade her to stop, to avoid overstraining. And the author is telling that we had to persuade means to convince. Persuade means to convince, manana. So they have to convince her to stop to overstraining, so that to avoid overstraining, that is over tiredness, कहीं वो ज़्यादा टायर्ड ना हो जाए, थक ना जाए, and that's why they had to persuade or convince. That was the first time since I had known her that she did not pray. And author is telling that from the last 20 or 25 years he was watching her his grandmother, and she did not pray. That was the first time. The next morning she was taken ill, and the next morning what happened? She was taken ill. बीमार पड़ गई. It was a mild fever, and it was only a mild, or you can say light, not serious, mild fever. And the doctor told us that it would go, and doctor was saying that she will be all right in a few hours or few days. But my grandmother thought differently, but grandmother was thinking in a different manner. What she was thinking? She told us that her end was near, and she told to the whole family that my end is near because my grandson had come. Now I'm going forever. She had said that since only a few hours before the close of the last chapter of her life, she had omitted to pray. She was not going to waste any more time talking to us, and she told them that because she had omitted to pray, she has forgotten the important work of praying to God last night, just before some hours of the last moment of her life. She was thinking that the last moment of her life has come, and she had forgotten the previous night to pray the God, and that's why she didn't want to waste a single second to talk with them, and she wanted to pray to God. पिछले रात वो भूल गई थी प्रे करना, अब वो प्रे करना चाहती है, and she did not want to talk with them. So whenever such type of thinking, such type of talking is done by any one of the family members who wants to say that I'm going to die, normally we protest him. In the same way, author and his family also protested. They opposed. उन्होंने भी विरोध किया that no, he will live a long time. But she ignored our protest. But she ignored about that. The oppositions were ignored by her. She said, no, I am going to die and I will only pray. She lay peacefully in bed, praying and telling her beads. Once again, she was praying. She was not talking to the family members and only telling her beads or counting her beads of her rosary. Even before we could suspect, and before that we could have a doubt or a suspect towards her, her lips stopped moving and the rosary fell from her lifeless fingers. And what happened next? Her rosary fell from her lifeless fingers, and her fingers, her lips also stopped. It means she had died. A peaceful pallor spread on her face, a type of a peaceness in pallor, faded yellowish color that spread on her face, and we knew that she was dead. And we came to know that she is dead. So that's the death of grandmother. Next, what they had done, the final ceremony. We lifted her off the bed, and as it is customary, laid her on the ground, because that was a custom that after death a person could not be on bed and he should or she should be on ground, and that's why they lifted her dead body from the bed and they had put it where on the ground and covered with also a red shroud or coffin. After a few hours of mourning, they had also mourned, or you can say expressed their expression of sorrow. We left her alone to make arrangements of her funeral, the last ceremony of a person, Antim Sanskar. So they had, firstly they had do mournings of the sorrow, express their sorrow because she was family member, whatever the old age she had, and after that they had started to make arrangements for the funeral. In the evening, we went to her room with a crude stretcher. In the evening, they had gone to her dead body in her room with the help of a crude stretcher, a simple stretcher, or you can say the particular instrument on which the dead body is taken for the funeral. अर्थी जिसे आप बोल सकते हैं, to take her to be cremated so that she could be cremated, she could be burnt. So they had made arrangement. The sun was setting at that time. The sun setting time was there, and sun was setting and had lit her room, and her room was totally lighted with the sunlight, and veranda with a blaze of golden light. And there was a golden light, and her room and veranda they that had a gold blaze or the glow of golden light. So there was shining of golden light. We stopped halfway in the courtyard, and as they were going to the room, they also stopped in the halfway of courtyard or angan. All over the veranda and in her room, right up to where she lay dead and stiff wrapped in the red shroud, thousands of sparrows sat scattered on the floor. Why they had stopped? Because there were thousands of sparrows. They were scattered there. They were sitting there around the dead body where she was dead and stiffly wrapped with the red shroud. लाल रंग के कफन से जैसे उसको उड़ाया गया था। वहाँ पर हजारों की संख्या में स्पैरोज ऑल्सो केम देयर बिकॉज दे वर ऑल्सो फ्रेंड्स बिकॉज शी वॉज फीडिंग देम till the last. There was no chirping on that day, and there was no chirping. Usually, there was so much chirping, making a type of a bedlam, veritable bedlam. But on that day, there was no noise. We felt sorry for the birds, and we felt that the person who was feeding them is no more now. So we were feeling that who would feed them, and that's why my mother placed some bread for them. My mother go and come with some bread for them. She broke it into little crumbs and she broke them into crumbs or little pieces. The way my grandmother used to do, in the same way as my grandmother was doing, and threw it to them, and she threw to the sparrows these crumbs or the pieces. The sparrows took no notice of the bread, but sparrows didn't take any notice because actually on that day sparrows had come to express their sorrows. By sitting there silently without any noise is the way of expression by the sparrows. Even they didn't take notice of the bread pieces thrown by mother of Kushwan Singh. When we carried my grandmother's corpse off, when the grandmother's corpse was taken off, corpse means dead body, they flew away quietly, and sparrows flew away from there quietly without making noise. So that's the way of expression. Next morning, the sweeper swept the bread crumbs into dustbin. And what happened the next day? The sweeper swept the pieces of the bread into dustbin. So in this way, how the friendship between grandmother and grandson that grew, and how grandmother at last died. So the love, affection, kind-heartedness, and the other relation between grandmother and grandson that has been shown through this story. We will continue with the question answers, but that will be in the next part of the